Russian President Vladimir Putin is now floating the possibility of carrying out fresh nuclear tests in reaction to President Trump's recent call for the Pentagon to resume nuclear testing after a 33-year pause. A Kremlin spokesperson cautioned to CNN that Russia is, quote, just investigating whether it is necessary to start preparations, noting that they are still bound to that international treaty banning nuclear tests, which the United States is also part of. Now, this is all coming as a new Netflix film, House of Dynamite, explores the perils of nuclear weapons and how top U.S. leaders, from the president on down, have scrambled to react to a foreign missile threat to America with only 18 minutes before impact.
Reed, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Oh. Yeah, I'm here.
What do you make of all this?
I really don't know.
You don't know? You're running the Pentagon. I had one briefing when I was sworn in. One. And they told me that's the protocol.
They told me the same thing.
I got a briefing on when a Supreme Court justice dies. Replacements. Replacement for what happens if the replacement drops out. What to do if the original guy crawls out of his grave and wants his job back.
We focused on more likely scenarios. Things we might actually have to deal with.
Yeah, well, we're dealing with this.
Best I can remember, we follow the steps. We're following procedure.
My sources tonight are Academy Award-winning filmmaker Kathryn Bigelow, the director of House of Dynamite, and the film's writer and producer Noah Oppenheim. And it's so great to have both of you here. I loved this movie. I was so stressed watching this movie, especially when it came to the ending, which we'll get to. But the fact that this movie is now debuting at a time when the president is talking about nuclear testing, we're hearing Russia respond to this. We had an analyst who used to brief President Trump the night that Trump posted about this, who said this is just going to open the floodgates for other countries to say they're also going to start this. I wonder what you make of the timing of this movie coming out and this actually happening in the news cycle.
It's actually so surreal, but I mean, I'm obviously hopeful that this is a conversation toward denuclearization, but it's the elephant in the room. We haven't addressed nuclear weapons for decades. And I grew up in the duck and cover era where we had to hide under our desks. So it's always been present to me.
Yeah, and just given that, I mean, I think that's why it resonated with so many people watching it, was this was actually a fear that so many people had growing up and had to think about and consider what would we do in this situation.
Right.
It's not exactly reassuring if you're watching the movie of what exactly our top leaders would be in the position of, because, and this isn't a spoiler, it's basically showing that you're not in the perfect situation when something like this happens, that, the National Security Advisor is getting a colonoscopy, his deputy is making his way into the White House still as this is coming down, and they do not have a lot of time to respond.
That's true. I mean, the government has binders full of plans for what to do in an event of an attack like this, and yet none of those plans can account for the chaos of ordinary life and the fact that it's unlikely that the president's going to get to sit down with all his top advisors around a nice wooden table and look each other in the eye and take their time in coming to some sort of consensus. The reality is they're going to be scattered. It could be 2 o'clock in the morning. Somebody could be not feeling well. And one of the things we wanted to dramatize in the movie is the human factor. And, we oftentimes push out of our mind the existence of these weapons. They've been lurking in the background since the dawn of the nuclear age. And the fact that it's again back in the news cycle is an important reminder, along with the film, that more of us need to get involved in thinking about and talking about this threat.
And can we talk about how the movie was put together in terms of seeing Stratcom in the way that we did was really fascinating to me as a White House reporter. With the White House, I was familiar with the briefing room, obviously, and kind of the West Wing of how this looks and the bunker and whatnot. But seeing Stratcom was really something to me. What did you do in preparation of trying to make this? Obviously, it's a movie, but also making it as realistic as possible.
Well, I think the key to this piece, and a piece like this, is to make it as realistic as possible. So you're actually contemplating this problem right in front of you, and it feels as authentic as we could possibly make it. We visited the battle deck, and we spent some time there, and I was there with my production designer, and for not very long, but we were there, and so we replicated it almost to within an inch of its life. And same with the White House Situation Room. Very, very realistic.
Well, and so many people, or so few people, I guess I should say, really get to see what those look like in person. Was there anything about it that surprised you as you were hearing from officials about, you know, not similar scenarios, but breaking news situations where they're making decisions with a tight timeline?
I mean, that in and of itself is so surprising. And the fact that the president has sole authority, like it's not a consensus-based decision, it's his decision alone with 2 or 3 minutes left in this situation. So that was surprising to me when we were doing research and found that out. But it was a very, those locations are just, they're kind of terrifying and very, very intimidating.
Yeah.
For some people, they're just the office they go to every day. I mean, that's the thing also. It's like they're somebody's workplace.
Right.
Yeah, and there was also such a human aspect to this of these people who, what they were thinking of in these moments, because yes, they're in the Situation Room, or yes, they're on the STRATCOM battle deck, but they also have families and loved ones that they're thinking of in these moments, in addition to the American population.
Yeah, of course. And balancing that and expecting anyone to remain focused on the problem at hand, knowing that their loved ones are in imminent danger if, God forbid, something like this were to ever happen. It's just, you know, it's hard to imagine what we ask of these public servants.
So I had an early look at the movie. I told my entire team to watch it. They all did once it debuted on Netflix, and they all had thoughts when they came back to work on Monday. With the most, you know, talked about part being the ending, of wanting to know what happens at the end and the real cliffhanger that the two of you left us with. Did you go into this wanting that to be open-ended, or how did you approach that?
No, absolutely. That was from our first conversation. We wanted it to be like that. And I think part of it is that the fact that, you know, I guess there's a desire to point a finger at who the enemy is, who launched this missile. But finally, at the end of the day, you have to realize that we are the enemy. We've created this incredible stockpile of weapons that are designed to annihilate this world that we live in. So there's kind of a paradox of safety. It's maybe there's no safety. I mean, no one wins a nuclear war.
And does it take the focus somehow off of who it is that has launched it by putting more of the focus on what does the United States do in this situation and what we've kind of created for ourselves?
In a perfect world, yes. And then is there a path forward to reduce the nuclear stockpile? I mean, that would be, you know, where culture influences policy in a perfect world.
Whenever you see what the Pentagon has said about this, I wonder what you make of the reaction that the film itself has generated from people who were there. I know you talked to a lot of people who've been in the Pentagon and in the Situation Room in the national security space. What do you make of what the Pentagon has said so far about this?
First of all, I think we're thrilled that there's a conversation happening about these issues. So glad that they watched, glad that they've chosen to engage in the debate. As we've said, it's not a debate between us as filmmakers and the Pentagon. It's a debate between the Pentagon and the community of experts out there over the efficacy of our missile defense system and what's the best way to keep us all safe.
Noah Oppenheim and Kathryn Bigelow, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.